Good evening, fans, and welcome to episode 96 of Sports Talk with Bryan. And today have a longtime friend here to join us, Bryan Johnston, who's currently the senior associate athletic director here for Georgia Southern. Bryan, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. And yourself, Rags?
Hey, I'm doing great. Appreciate your time, and hey, we'll start at the beginning. I know that you were definitely involved here with Western Branch football here with your dad being a coach. So talk about being involved in Bruin football.
Yeah. Besides playing there, my on the varsity squad my last 3 years, my dad was obviously the head coach well before I came up through there, and I was actually the ball boy on the team for many years growing up. We got to go to practice. I remember back when we went to Chowan College for the preseason camps, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world to be able to hang out with those guys and be their ball boy on Friday nights at the home games. And I kind of grew up with Western Branch football. Was lucky enough the final 3 years to play varsity for my dad. And, obviously still keep up with the Bruins and know they just had a great year and wishing them the best of luck moving forward.
Yes, yeah, it was nice to see them have a season where they finished with 10 wins and made it to the regional championship game. And their three losses, one came from the number one seed of Region Four, Kings Fork, and the other two losses came against the number one. Seed in Region 6. So definitely a good year there to build upon there for Bruin football.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you're in the same bracket with Oscar Smith right now, they're kind of a buzzsaw that got things rolling for many years now. It's no shame in losing those games. Wouldn't be shocked if they end up winning the whole thing once again. But they've got it rolling there, and I know big things are coming for them.
Yes, and I know that you went to South Carolina, and then did you work in the sports department there while being a student there in South Carolina?
Yeah, so I started off as a journalism major and was working for the school newspaper, kind of like what I did at Western Branch, working for that school newspaper. And as part of working for the newspaper, you have to request interviews for players and coaches through the sports information office, which is something I'd never heard of. And I started to kind of watch what they did and kind of saw that, hey, they got a pretty cool job. They're working with the athletes. They're writing for the school. They're representatives of the school, and instead of writing about them, you're writing for them. So I kind of started watching them while I was, still working for the newspaper. And then my junior year, I made the jump over to the sports information office. Ended up working there 2 years, and never looked back. It's still a lot of journalism that I do. I'm writing press releases every day. Stuff that you would do for a newspaper. It's just I'm doing it for a school and writing about the team from the inside as opposed to writing about the team from a newspaper or an external source. So yeah, I worked there the last 2 years, and Kerry Tharp was my boss there. He ended up going on to be the president of NASCAR. Now he's at Rockingham Speedway. Those great routes to get started, and it helped me get an internship at Virginia Tech, and the rest is history, as I say.
Yes, and when you got that internship at Virginia Tech, it was definitely some exciting times there with
Yeah.
Hokie football there with
Yeah.
the national championship appearance.
Yeah, I was supposed to go there for 13 weeks to finish up my curriculum from South Carolina. It was kind of it wasn't really a full internship. It was more of just kind of a 13-week class to finish things up. And when that was over, Dave Smith, who was the boss there, asked me to stay on for a year as an intern. And so that was fall of '99. And as you all know, in the state of Virginia, that was a very special fall. Um, things kind of escalated quickly. I was the volleyball and swimming and diving SID when I got there. Within 2 weeks of the season starting, one of the full-time people left. And as the Hokies kept winning and getting more and more attention, a young quarterback by the name of Michael Vick started to take off. And as the national media started getting more and more involved, they needed someone to help him with all his interview requests. And they were like, "Hey, seem to have a good relationship with him. Why don't you handle it?" And so kind of became the de facto personal PR guy for Michael Vick the rest of the year. Ended up, he took us to the national championship game. I got to go to the ESPYs out in Las Vegas with him. It was a great year. Unfortunately, came up a little short in the championship game. But then, yeah, I got lucky that another full-time person left. And so they made me full-time in the fall of 2000. Yeah, fall of 2000. And so then I stayed there for 16 years. So I joked that I was supposed to be there for 13 weeks and ended up staying there 16 years. So just kind of being in the right place at the right time. But obviously, under Coach Beamer and with Michael and some of the great players that came through there from the 757 area, Virginia Tech really took off while I was there, and it was super exciting times to be there.
Yeah, and so you saw Virginia Tech go from the Big East to the ACC, and then when they moved into the ACC, then to end the regular season with a conference championship game there in the ACC. So you've definitely seen how your job and just everything, seen it expand there.
Yeah.
From where it was to when you started, and as you continued to from year to year and where it is now.
Yeah, when I started there and was doing softball, we were in the Atlantic 10. I was doing wrestling, and they were in the Eastern Wrestling League. And then kind of everything changed in 2004 when the ACC came calling for Virginia Tech in Miami, and made the jump and never looked back. And you talk about going from some very small towns in the Northeast, like up in Rhode Island and some places you never thought you'd be with the Atlantic 10, to all of a sudden being in the ACC. It was pretty big time and pretty eye opening. Some of the games at the Orange Bowl, and playing down in Chapel Hill and Clemson, and then later on, Pittsburgh and Boston College, and Maryland was in the league, and then Syracuse joined. So it was, I got to see a lot of places that I never thought I'd get to be. And, I think last time I have a list of all the stadiums I've been to, and I think I'm getting up around 70 now. So
Wow.
I, would never have gotten a chance to do that without, Dave Smith taking the chance on me as some, college kid just looking for an internship. And, it's kind of led to a career that I never thought about or even knew about, back when I was in high school. But it's certainly something that I think I'm perfectly fit for, and it's certainly become the career that I'm glad I found.
Yeah, that's great. And then you moved on to Georgia Southern there in when was that? 2015.
Yep, fall of 2015. I actually I missed the first couple of days of preseason camp and walked onto the practice field about 5 practices in and never looked back. So yeah, fall of 2015. Our first game that year was actually at West Virginia, a place that I'd been many a times back in the Big East days. So when we pulled into the stadium, I knew exactly where to go, and everyone was like, "How do you know where to go?" I was like, "Well, I've been here a few times, so watch out. They will throw things at you if you." And this is where the press box is. This is where the post game interview room is. This is where the locker room is, and so. It kind of was funny that was my first game there, was in a place that I knew pretty well. But yeah, just finished up my 7th football season here, and looking forward to many more under a new coach and new administration, and things are really rolling down here in Statesboro.
Yes, and any other sports that you oversee since you've been at Georgia Southern?
Yeah, so as an SID or sports information director, that's kind of the old school term for it. It's kind of more of athletics communications now. It's because we do more of social media, and we do more than just the old days of SID work of setting up interviews, and we're more of communications professionals now. But I, as a SID, for lack of a better term, I'm the head football guy, and I also do rifle. And a lot of people don't realize that rifle is an NCAA sport, but we have a team down here that's ranked in the top 20 in the country and very successful. And they're a really fun program to cover. And then as an administrator, I'm over rifle and then softball, and that's more of a just kind of helping the coaches out to be a liaison and remove roadblocks for them to be successful. It's more of an administrative side of things as opposed to a communications person. So, but we all help out in our office with each other. We'll have basketball games or soccer or volleyball. I'll pitch in where I need to help out. But those are my main sports right now.
Yeah, and there with Georgia Southern being part of the Sun Belt, I mean, it was already a competitive conference, but definitely here in the next couple years, Sun Belt's going to be expanding. I mean, here in Norfolk, people at Old Dominion are like, "Hey, we're going to the Sun Belt," and I was like, "Well, actually, it's full circle for Old Dominion." I remember when I moved here in '87 that Old Dominion was at the Sun Belt, in the Sun Belt Conference back then.
Yeah, it's I'm excited because I was actually talking to somebody from the Sun Belt today about future football schedules, and I was like, well, the quicker you can get a road game at Old Dominion, the quicker I get a free trip home. So, and then obviously JMU, I'm familiar with them. Working in Blacksburg, Harrisonburg is hour 45 from there, and we've played at Marshall a bunch of times, so I'm familiar with Huntington and Southern Miss is joining. I've honestly never been there, but people say it's a great place, great campus. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting time here in the Sun Belt. The East Division alone in football is going to have 13 FCS national champions between Marshall, JMU, us, and App State. So it's going to be a heck of a division once it all shakes out, whenever everybody gets into the league, whether that's, in the next 8 to 10 months or if it's a year and a half away. It's going to be exciting, the Sun Belt. And Commissioner Gill really done a really great job of building this in a time of kind of uncertainty with all the, kind of conference realignment going on. And I think the Sun Belt's really positioned itself in a very strong position moving forward. And I'm excited to see what happens with the league moving forward. But personally, I'm excited to play a game in Norfolk and kind of get home back to see my family and friends whenever that may happen. And with them being probably in the same division as us, it's going to be every other year. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. And I know that, Old Dominion and Georgia Southern definitely has had some previous matchups.
Yeah, those were before I got here, but I've seen the box scores. They were high scoring affairs. Georgia Southern was known for running the triple option and pounding the rock. And then I believe Heineke was the quarterback. And I believe it was like 52-49 or just some crazy scores. And they were definitely offensive games. If you like defense, you probably were pulling your hair out. But we're excited to play them again. It's a good rivalry. Obviously, we played them recently in the past decade in the playoffs. And definitely, I'm sure they are looking forward to getting a little payback. No, the Eagles went up to Norfolk and got a win there, and I'm sure that's probably not sitting well. But regardless of the past history, we're excited to have all four of those teams join in the conference and know that the Sun Belt's going to be really, really strong moving forward.
Yeah, and looking at y'all's schedule from this past football season, play Arkansas, Raging Cajuns, Coastal Carolina, and App State. Definitely some
and BYU.
Yeah, that's right. BYU was in there.
Yeah. We played four teams that were ranked at one point, and App State was just outside the top 25. So you talk about a schedule that was one of the toughest in the country from a group of five. I think we certainly probably had that. Unfortunately, we didn't win any of those games, but to be able to play those teams week in, week out really shows the competitiveness of our conference, and then also the ability to get BYU into Statesboro when they were ranked in the top 15, and I think they finished in the top 15 in the CFP poll. So, that was a huge thing. We got Houston coming in here in a few years. So, tough schedule, but hopefully, we're going to be building a program here that can start to win those games as we move forward.
Yeah. And with overseeing football, it's, I mean, definitely there seems to be no downtime in
Yeah.
the off season. I mean, just coverage for college football, even when the regular season is
Mhm.
done, and even with postseason, it seems like everybody wants to hear about college football, even in the off season with the news and notes.
Yeah. Well, the fall and late summer is obviously the regular season, and then you go into recruiting season. We got signing day a week from today, um, and then now you have two signing periods. You have one in February and one in December. Then you get into spring football, and then summer people think is the downtime, and actually for me, I call that media guide season. That's when I'm doing the media guide and getting ready for the next year. So, but in this age of social media, where people want news and notes, every day, there's really no off season anymore, and that's true for any sport, not just football. Obviously, football is the one that at most places gets the most eyes on social media, but people just want information, whether it's videos or just graphics or photos. They just want something to keep them up to date, and so we've really built a strong creative service team here to handle that sort of stuff because our fans are as passionate as anyone in the country, and they want information on their Eagles, and so we try to come up with a plan to get them stuff. Right now, we're in the process of rolling out Coach Helton's new staff. So we put out our strength and conditioning coach today, and hopefully we'll have some new ones here soon. And as I said, signing day is coming up, and we'll get a couple of days off for the holidays, but then it's back to the grind and
Right.
getting ready for spring practice and the February signing class. But fans everywhere want information, whether it's as simple as a photo of someone lifting or kids reading to a classroom or doing community service. It's something where you can't ever have enough content out there, and it's not just us; it's everywhere. People are really putting a lot of emphasis on social media, trying to reach their fans and engage and tell their stories.
Yeah, and with starting out, I mean, I know that I remember when you worked at there in high school there with the school newspaper, and then
Mhm.
when you moved into college, but you've probably definitely seen with how it was then to where
Uh,
where it is today, and with technology, and like we
yeah.
talked about with social media.
Yeah, I tell people my job's changed completely from when I started back in the late '90s to this, but it's changed from what I did 3 years ago to what I do now, and it
Yeah.
definitely changed from 5, 10 years ago. Like, Twitter, I remember back in 2005, six, somewhere around there, that kind of popped up, and it was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And now, like, you can't go anywhere without getting alerts, and you have to be on it 24 hours a day. And then Facebook, and then for a while it was Pinterest, and putting up videos on YouTube, and now it's TikTok and Instagram, and there's just so many different outlets, and there's more than I want to even care to learn about. So that's why I surround myself with younger graduates and professionals who like doing that stuff. I like just getting on Twitter and seeing what's going on and reading the news, but those younger generation that's coming up, they specialize in that stuff. We have a social media manager who all she does is social media for us, and she plans out our content and our creative scenarios and what our boards are going to look like and when we're posting, and even down to what the caption is. And so it's a specialized profession, and people are going out there. People are making a lot of money as graphic designers and photographers and videographers, and it's just crazy how much it's changed. And the biggest thing from my standpoint is it's become now a 24-hour day news cycle. You used to be able to wait a day or two until the media found out about something, whether it's good or bad, and then you could respond to it. But now it's within 2 hours, or if the kid posts something on social media, you're expected to be available to give a comment or confirm or deny something, whether it's at 8 in the morning, 8 at night, or 2 in the morning. So it's crazy how the world is, and it's not just sports, it's everything. It's a
Right.
24-hour news cycle now. And the good news is a lot of times things roll off in a 24-hour news cycle, whereas opposed to something bad happens, you're probably dealing with it for 2 weeks, and now it's almost like a day, and most of the time it's forgotten and it's on to the next crisis or big story. And so there's some good and some bad, but it's definitely changed the way I do things. my wife jokes that I always have my phone on me, and it's true because you never know what you're going to miss if you go in the movie theater and you come out and all of a sudden you get 35 text messages, or you look on Twitter and one of your players or a topic, your team is trending and you're like, oh, this can't be good. And so you're just always on just to make sure you're not missing anything. And it changes every day. I mean, I joke there's going to be something. TikTok's the hot thing now, and 6 months from now there could be something else that we're going to have to learn. So it's always evolving and getting better at your craft, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind, and certainly don't want to have that happen to me. So I keep up with the trends, but I'm the smart one who I hire people who know that stuff to keep up with the trends, so I can just do it for fun and they do it for real.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that softball has a fall program and then the regular season's the spring. When is the actual regular season for rifle, or is it one of those sports that's kind of like all year?
Yeah, they're kind of one of those crossover sports. They actually start in early October, and then they go through late November, and they take all of December off. Then they'll come back in January, and their conference tournament or conference championship is in early March, and then they're done by mid March. So they kind of go October through November, then take a little break, and come back and go January through March. So in this profession, we call it the crossover season, when the winter sports and the fall sports are crossing over, which is we're kind of now coming out of it. It's when the football, volleyballs, and soccer's, and then you're also having basketballs and swimming matches going on. And then in spring, when you got baseball, softball, golf, tennis going on, while you're still trying to wrap up basketball and rifle and some of the winter sports. So right now we've come out unscathed from the fall crossover, and now we kind of concentrate on winter sports alone. We have our basketball teams are playing. Our men's team actually just tipped off a little while ago. They'll play throughout the break. They're the men's and women's basketball. They're really the only ones who play throughout the holiday season for us. Everybody else kind of takes a couple weeks off, and then we'll come back in January and after our batteries are recharged, and we'll hit it hard and have a great spring semester here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, Bryan, thanks again for coming on and talking about what your career's been here in the sports department there at Virginia Tech and Georgia Southern. But hey, with being a Gamecock, I mean, exciting times here with the Gamecocks going to a bowl.
Yeah, it's funny. Obviously, I know their head coach because he
Yeah.
was a long snapper on the Virginia Tech team when I was there, and I actually got to drive up to Columbia this summer to spend a day with the football creative service team, and I made sure that Shane was in town that day and got to spend 20 minutes with him. He's definitely doing a great job for them to get 6 wins after the last couple of years and what he inherited. He probably was close on a couple more, but he also pulled out some close wins. So I know they're happy with the 6 that they got. And, the bowl game is a great Carolina matchup down up there in Charlotte. And I know Shane's got him rolling. He's going to recruit well. He's going to coach well. And they got a great guy in charge of that program. So I'm certainly excited for the future of that program as well.
Yeah, with it being a Carolina matchup, I mean, you and I definitely know somebody there on Mac's staff from way back when.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't root for him in this one. But other than any other time they're playing, I'll root for Dre. But this bowl game, I got my garnet and black on. So sorry, Dre.
Right. Yeah. So, but all right, Bryan. Well, hey, man, appreciate your time, and looking forward to Old Dominion coming back to the Sun Belt, and definitely seeing some matchups there with Georgia Southern there on the football field.
We're excited. I'm excited to get back up there.
Yeah, and I know it's definitely a good baseball conference there with Coastal and Southern Miss coming in and everything.
Yeah, Coastal won the national championship the year before. Actually, literally the day before they came into the Sun Belt. They joined on July 1st, and on June 30th, they won the national championship. South Alabama's been really strong. Southern Miss is obviously good. JMU's had a quality program. Then what Old Dominion's done, and the players they've pumped out of that program speaks for itself. So they're going to be right in there and contribute a lot to this league very quickly, and we're excited to add them for all sports.
Yes. Well, all right, Bryan. Well, hey, thanks again, and you and your wife and your family have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you later, and appreciate your time.
Same to you. Thanks for having me on, and go Eagles.
All right. Yeah. So tonight here on this episode, we had a longtime friend of mine, Bryan Johnston, here that currently works in the Georgia Southern Sports Department here as a senior associate athletics director. So a little bit insight here in the Georgia Southern athletic program. So thanks again, Bryan.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Night.